What if the Bible you've read your entire life isn't the whole story? Buried beneath centuries of silence are texts that paint a radically different picture of Jesus, his disciples, and the earliest days of Christianity. These are the so-called lost books of the Bible, ancient writings the Vatican rarely acknowledges, and some believe were intentionally kept out of reach. But what are they? Why were they excluded? And what secrets do they hold? Let's uncover what the Vatican doesn't tell you about the lost books of the Bible. The Bible, as most know it today, is made up of 66 books in Protestant traditions and 73 in Catholicism. But in the early centuries after Christ, there were far more writings in circulation, letters, gospels, and mystical texts, all claiming divine insight. In fact, the early church had to sift through dozens of competing texts to determine which were inspired and which were not. Contrary to what many believe, the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD didn't finalize the Bible. That came later, through a series of church councils, especially the Council of Trent in the 16th century. In the process, Gospels like those of Thomas, Mary Magdalene, and Judas were left out, not because they didn't exist, but because they didn't align with the growing orthodoxy. But what did these texts actually say? The early church faced a difficult challenge: unity. Different Christian groups were interpreting Jesus' teachings in wildly different ways. Some Gospels emphasized secret wisdom. Others painted apostles in unfamiliar roles. To protect unity and doctrine, leaders had to make a choice. Some books stayed, others were rejected. The Gospel of Thomas, for example, presents Jesus as a mystical teacher, focusing on self-knowledge and inner enlightenment. There's no crucifixion, no resurrection, just 114 sayings attributed to Christ, many of which sound like riddles. It was too mystical, too Gnostic, and too dangerous for a church trying to maintain control. One of the most debated texts is the Gospel of Mary, attributed to Mary Magdalene. In it, she emerges not as a weeping sinner, but as a spiritual leader with deep insight. In one passage, Peter outright challenges her authority, asking, "Did he really speak privately to a woman and not openly to us?" This gospel raises questions about how early Christian women were viewed, and whether Mary Magdalene's importance was erased over time. Was she a marginalized apostle, or a threat to the male hierarchy of the early church? The Gospel of Mary didn't fit the church's growing structure, so it was sidelined. Perhaps the most shocking of all is the Gospel of Judas. Discovered in a cave in Egypt and authenticated in 2006, this gospel turns the betrayal story on its head. Here, Judas isn't the villain. He's the only disciple who truly understands Jesus' mission, and his betrayal is portrayed as an act of obedience, not treachery. In this version, Jesus tells Judas, "You will sacrifice the man that clothes me." It's chilling, it's bold, and it completely rewrites what most Christians have believed for 2,000 years. The Vatican doesn't promote these lost Gospels, but it doesn't outright deny their existence either. They're categorized as apocryphal or Gnostic. Interesting from a historical point of view, but not considered inspired scripture. Why? Because they don't pass the traditional tests: apostolic origin, consistent theology, and widespread use in early worship. The Church sees them as writings that can inform our understanding of history, but not our theology. Still, their mere existence stirs up countless questions. In recent years, searches for lost gospels have skyrocketed. Social media is filled with theories, debates, and clips quoting ancient lines never heard in Sunday sermons. Many feel that these texts, once hidden, offer something deeper, something raw. People today crave mystery. They want to question, explore, and understand their faith beyond what they were handed. And these forbidden texts, they offer just enough uncertainty to ignite the imagination. So here's the question: are these books dangerous distractions or missing pieces of a divine puzzle? Some theologians argue that reading them could strengthen your faith by understanding what early Christians really thought, what they struggled with, and what they left behind. Others believe they're spiritual landmines, offering false hope or heretical ideas, but maybe they're neither. Maybe they're mirrors, reflecting the spiritual hunger that's never left us. The Bible, as we know it, is a carefully chosen collection, but outside its pages, in dusty caves and ancient scrolls, are stories still waiting to be read, stories that challenge us, stir us, and make us ask uncomfortable questions. So I'll leave you with this. If you could read the Gospel of Judas, the Gospel of Mary, or the hidden words of Thomas, would you? And if what you found challenged everything you thought you knew, would you still believe?